All right, everybody, welcome back to Moonhawk Studios presents our belated season finale. Due to various things which will be revealed as the night presses on. I'm your host, Mac Paladin, and with me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
Spoiler tease, it's all Mac's fault.
I will wear that with as a badge of pride. Kevin was unable to make it tonight, but we do have Petty Fan on the technicals.
It was almost my fault this week.
And the Galax is kicking around.
What do you call Conplague when it comes from a memorial service?
Ooh. Ouch. All right, we got a great show for you tonight, but before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, let's get through the news. Adam, what's cooking?
Let's see, the summer approaches, so that means more time with children. Which will be
harrowing.
Something. Yeah.
Something like, dark side.
I mean, look, love my nephews and niece, but they are a handful. Like, to say
That's
the least.
Okay. You take your revenge by secretly teaching them the ways of the Sith.
I think they've already learned those lessons. Like, look, nothing doing, but they are, they are very energetic rabble rousers. I mean, my brother doesn't accept the truth, but they get into trouble every place they go.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, aside from that, my mother had heart tests this past week and gets the result next week. Although she screwed up the stress test by drinking caffeine before said test.
Womp,
oh dear.
Womp.
Not sure how conclusive this all is going to be. Because, hopefully nothing will show up.
It's like the old saying goes, the heart palpitations let you know it's working.
Maybe less good that's happening in your mid-70s.
Yeah.
Like, and some repair work had to be done, like plug outlet needed replacing. And yeah, that's about it for, hard news. In terms of games, dropped Oblivion after a couple of hours. It's not good. Like, I would much rather play Morrowind in terms of Elder Scrolls games, and I would much rather play something by Piranha Bytes. So I'm playing Risen now with updated controls.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, since Kevin is off at MomoCon and won't be back until July, over to Petty for his news.
Well, let's see. Do we want the good or the bad?
Yes.
Well, I guess good/fun stuff. Saturday I went to the Digimon card game regionals over in Kansas, and I took 7th. Yay. And for the, I guess, bad/unfortunate news, my cat Luna now has a feeding tube because we don't fully know what's going on, but she's not been wanting to eat. The doctor wanted to do a biopsy of her liver, but unfortunately we don't have the money for that. They think she might have liver cancer, but the only way to know would be to get the liver biopsy. So basically, the best we can do is, have her on this feeding tube, and hopefully we can get food and medicine into her easy enough that if it's just an infection, she'll be fine. But if she's not getting better or starts getting worse, it means it possibly is liver cancer and there's nothing we can do. Because she is 16 years old. So that's been taking up a lot of my time, just, following her, making sure she's okay. I need to feed her 3 times a day. So it's been a lot of just, hoping my kitty's okay. And we need to take her to the vet weekly to kind of, check up, touch base, and whatnot. Best case scenario, we take her in next week, and they say she's getting better, and she could possibly have the feeding tube removed in a week or 2. Worst case, she's getting worse, and we need to make the decision. We do have a GoFundMe that my sister started to try and help raise some money towards her vet bills. Because the feeding tube alone was a little over $1,000, and that's not including the other bills we have paid to hopefully try and get her better. So, it should be pinned in the chat. It's also in the Discord. So if you're able to throw anything towards that to help us out, it'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, I guess on that dour note, Gullix, what do you got going on?
Well, I have successfully returned from my excursion. As alluded to in the earlier thing, I seem to have picked up a minor sore throat, probably at the event because there were a lot of people there. This was, excuse me, I have to cough. This was I went down to Martha's Vineyard for most of a week to go to my grandfather's memorial service. He died, I think, in like December, but he's cremated, so we waited until now, so the most people could get there for the thing and stuff. So we just had it's a fairly short graveside thing, and then a lot of people came back to the house to reminisce and stuff, and also my mom and her sisters had to deal with some of the stuff around the house because it was his house. And we have to deal with some of the stuff that is still in it. Mostly had a good time. I'd been a little bit afraid because they had a mold problem a few years ago and had to get rid of a lot of the furniture and stuff, but enough of the stuff that I remembered was still there that it still felt pretty comfortable, and having had a couple of positive experiences with it, I may start trying to go on more trips with my family when they go places. But we'll see. It'll depend. Certainly on what the specific trips are for and where they're to. And that is most of what's been going on for the last week. So I just got back yesterday, and yeah, my throat's a little bit sore, and that's about all I really have, I think.
Well, no rest for the wicked here. Last week, I was largely absent due to the fact that Uber decided to suddenly change a bunch of stuff. And it seems like this is about the time of year where they go into full fuck everybody mode. It's the best way to describe it. So higher tier drivers have the ability to take out a loan called backup balance on our Uber Pro debit card. And as a platinum driver, I have $150 available to me. And they started updating their system, which caused a complete desynchronization between payouts and the card. So it was in error mode, and I was on support, and they said, "Oh, we don't understand what's happening. We're working on restoring backup balance, blah, 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 blah." Within a few hours, it's restored, and it says I'm ineligible because I have inconsistent driving history. I've been doing this for 7 years. So I had to work a 14-hour day to get the remaining 250 I needed to get the rent, and I had to broker a lot of deals. Oh God, I had to broker a lot of deals. I had to take on additional commissions that I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to get them done, but God damn it, they're going to happen. I have repaid one of the loans already. And I got it in literally at 8 a.m. before the office opened at 9 a.m. because of the web portal. But yeah, these fuckers almost caused me to default on my lease. Because apparently they changed their policy. It used to be I only had to do $700 a month in order to qualify. Now it's, quote, consistent driving and payout habits, whatever the fuck that means. And they took it away from me mid-month. Then the following day, they simultaneously implemented a new AI. I have a rant about AI. I failed the security checkpoint where they use their bullshit AI for facial recognition purposes. Now, since I started driving Uber, I have lost 30 pounds and I'm 7 years older. My face is narrower because of the weight loss, and I have more gray in my beard. 48 hours ago, under their old system, I passed, and it gave me the option to retake the photograph when it didn't like the angle of the photo or whatever. This one just errored out on the first try, went into we're verifying, and then they lied to me for 3 hours straight on support, telling me their security team independently looked at the photograph and said it was a different person. And I'm like, well, I know that's a lie because the 5 people I have now talked to on support said that they individually looked at the photograph and said, yeah, we don't know what they're talking about. I have it in text, and I have you on tape admitting that that you, a real human being, actually looked at the photograph and it lined up. And you're like, yeah, you look a little older, but it's obviously the same person. You even have the same style of facial hair. And I said, so over the last 4 years, every May, I catch your security team in a bald-faced lie, and then you reinstate me, and then you don't ever apologize for this. And of course, this is recorded for training purposes, so this went up the flagpole. And it's very interesting because my experience the next day I was eligible to drive again was very different. No glitches whatsoever. No holds, no interference, no messages. I did have to tell some supervisor who responded in English is not my first language word salad to not only fuck off, but to stop responding and close the ticket because I didn't want to hear any more of their form letters. I'm like, if you can't speak coherently to me in English, as English is my native language, then don't talk to me at all.
Mac, you
I'm
know what
like,
would
what is the
solve
point
all
of
of this? Just
what's
stop
that?
aging.
Right? Stop driving for Uber. That would be the first step. I just don't have these problems with Lyft. I just don't have these problems with Lyft, and I'm driving Lyft tonight. So I've committed to this idea now. This is my new strategy: is that Monday through Thursday I will drive Lyft, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when the earnings are theoretically the highest, I will go on Uber. And that's just how I'm going to quote unquote show consistency, is to always work the same days, roughly the same hours, and then just be done with it, and then not have to worry about this anymore. I'll have to go through less security checkpoints than working 7 days a week on the same app. And that'll just be that. But yeah, that, oof. Hopefully the tapes of my conversation with support never get published.
Or they do, and we all
To
have
say
a
that I was
wonderful laugh later.
to say that I was coming a bit unglued was, I mean, this is my job. This is my livelihood right now. So, sure ain't podcasting, that's for sure. But yeah, it was a nightmare, and it messed me up for several days.
I don't see an app for that. You'll need to download one.
Go away, Siri.
Oh, Siri's a crackhead.
Turn off, Siri.
And people wonder why I don't have Gemini activated on my phone.
Oh my god. Yeah, I just got a Android. What is it? The UI interface or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the
On
One
there.
UI update on the Samsung
What?
Galaxy phones.
Blah.
Yeah.
I haven't stripped any of the AI. I haven't stripped any of the AI elements. But anyway, since I'm bringing up AI again, I have an interesting mindset about AI. It is like Thanos and the snap. It's inevitable, and people railing against it, I don't think is going to make it go away. So, in my view, the question is not whether or not we eliminate AI, but how we can use it more ethically.
Meanwhile, when we're
And
done here, I have some AI bots to ban from the Discord server.
right. Well, I mean, they're not in your server by default, so I'm not that worried about it. It's inevitable, and I've been looking at it as a tool to take my actual labor and make it easier. Beyond that, I'm not looking to replace human beings across the board with it. It's again, it's part of my personal decision to use it as ethically as I possibly can, given the circumstances. And as you know, I've said this for many times over the last 16 years, that there is no such thing as ethical consumption under capitalism. The idea that anybody under a capitalistic system can be totally pure is nonsensical. It's the philosophy of Fantasyland. As long as you are in, huh?
And it doesn't matter.
But the point is that you just try to make as reasonably ethical decisions as you possibly can. And if you stumble and fall, that's by design of the system. That's not that's not a failing on your part. The best you can do is try. And that's my philosophy, because I've been looking at using AI for animation, specifically where I would feed it my art models of the characters and spaceships and sets and so on and so forth, and make it use them specifically to create animations. And there's still some direct interaction stuff with like puppet modeling and stuff like that is not entirely AI in the background, driven solely by prompts. What I want to avoid is anything involving AI that takes the human out of the equation. In other words, if it starts going off on its own with designs and such, then we pull the plug because it's not going to be useful at that point. If it starts going out to the internet to go look for stuff to scrap, supposedly there are some new developments in this arena for animation specifically. So you can take like 3 keyframes and then it'll fill in the rest. So
See, I'm still concerned because a lot of the AIs that have allegedly been trained on specific things, if you push them even the tiniest bit, will suddenly pull out a whole bunch of references to stuff that they technically, if that were true, they shouldn't know about. So
right, and that's why I'm still in the research phase and I'm not in the implementation phase because again, I don't want copyright issues because I'd have to write a new format for copyright claims saying that the story, script, dialogue, character designs, vessel designs, and set design, et cetera, were actually made by a human, where the animation was done by such and such, music by a human being, and so on, voices by a human being, and so on and so forth. I still want actual physical talent involved in my projects. It's literally to the point to where it's like a factor of money and time.
Oh, come on, Mac. You don't want an AI to accidentally put the Mickey Mouse logo somewhere in a smear frame and you get the Disney
Oh my
suits on
God.
your ass.
Yeah, because Disney has no ethical issues with AI use. I'm looking at you, Secret Wars. Or Secret Invasion, or whatever the hell that series was that had the entirely nonsensical AI opening. I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? And what is this sound? It's awful. Not to mention the fact that I'm pretty sure that 10,000 AI monkeys on 10,000 typewriters wrote the script to that TV series, but I digress. So yeah, so I have a strange relationship with AI, and I'm forced to use it as part of my actual work because all of support and all of the Uber and Lyft apps now are just inundated with AI, and I can't do anything about it. Literally, the only way that I could do without their AI is if I stopped driving. So I'm at a bit of a crossroads with these people. They are both the emotional damage that I suffered in the last week has had a ripple effect into this week, to the point to where I've just been driving around kind of exhausted at life in general. And then, of course, hearing Discord, hearing about Discord's AI and everything else. I just keep telling people that, your protests against the machine doesn't care. And the tech bros that made the machine don't care either. It's like Eminem said, you can't cancel anybody who doesn't give a shit. So I'm just trying to navigate this new AI world and make it functional. On the other side of things, I don't have to worry about power consumption because I generate my own. I've been expanding the solar array. I did finally get an EcoFlow Delta 2 power station, 1800 operating watts, 2700 peak. The watt hours on the battery cells are kind of low, but the fact that I can actually buy these generators locally at Lowe's, which makes my heart sing because then I don't have to deal with Home Depot. Home Depot and their Red Hat Brigade owner. The EcoFlow generators is something that has been constantly coming up in my Temu and TikTok feed. So The fact that they're now carrying them locally, and I can walk into a store and physically pick up the merchandise and walk out of there at a somewhat reasonable price, has made my life considerably easier. I have to get a couple more solar panels and some cabling, and then I should be able to bring the kitchen back online, which means that I'll have refrigeration and a microwave. I don't want to push my luck with the garbage disposal. For some inexplicable reason, they can't make a garbage disposal that uses less than 1,500 watts burst. So it's knocked out every power station that I've plugged it into. And of course, with summer coming, I do need to get the portable AC working. I tested it for 15 minutes with the EcoFlow generator, and it wiped out 25% of its power in that time frame. So I will need to make sure that I have a continuous input. I need to make sure that the input is greater than the output if I'm going to use the portable AC in any capacity. Considering the fact that we used to run the central air 24/7, 365. Yeah. Last thing I'm going to cover, and then we're going to get to the meat of it because we're coming up on whatever time it is. Anyway, it's coming up on 9 o'clock here. I've been thinking for a long time about what my next move as far as reintroducing gameplay shows to my channel, instead of just doing City of Heroes on Mondays and then coming over here to do Moonhawk Studios Presents. And I've really been thinking hard on playing Xenoblade Chronicles, the OG for the Nintendo Wii. And the whole reason that I went through that lengthy dissertation on my power setup is because in order to accomplish that, I need to make sure that I have sufficient power to run a Wii console, because I don't want to use Dolphin. I'm sorry, no offense to the Dolphin people, but I don't want to use an emulator for this. I want to play it on original hardware because I have save files, because if the save file that I have is still viable, because it's been on a memory card that's been in my Wii U since 2012. If the memory card is still viable, I want to do it as New Game Plus instead of doing it pristine, because I just want to kind of breeze through it. I'm going to do a semi-completionist run, but I want to kind of breeze through it and not have to worry about level grinding or anything like that. All my characters will start out at max level because that's where they are on the previous playthrough. And they'll have all the best stuff. And we'll just be able to play the story and have a nice casual fun run of it. So that's my plan. All right, so that's it for the news. Let's get to the heart of the matter here. I'm very excited about tonight's episode because we have the long-awaited return of a very special guest, friend who's very near and dear to our heart at this podcast. We have Rick Desilets of the D-Pad on tonight's show. Rick, welcome back to the program.
Hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
God, it's been many years, hasn't it? At least 10, right?
It has. When I was on last, I wasn't going gray yet.
You and me both, brother. I know you don't really need this kind of introduction, but let's say for nostalgia's sake, well, instead of telling us what the D-Pad does, who you are and what the D-Pad does, why don't you use the next 10 minutes for shameless self-promotion of what's going on with the D-Pad right now?
Oh boy. We're like it's so funny. We're in kind of like a pocket right now where we've been doing a lot of big things and we're in the process of setting up a bunch of other big things. So like at this exact moment, most of the stuff that I'm like secretly working on is still confidential, but I would say that the biggest stuff that we've done lately I'm actually still in the process of editing this. It's a nightmare because it is literally almost half a terabyte of video. But for the D-pad just turned 14 in April. We also started out as a podcast back in 2011, which I realized while looking stuff up, just because I was trying to make sure that I wasn't like a complete idiot coming on here. I didn't realize that you guys have been at this even longer than we have, which is incredible. Yeah. So big ups on that.
So 2009.
Yeah, we started I think April 2011. But yeah, so we turned 14 in April, and normally for our anniversary streams, we try to get as many folks on the team together as we can. We'll do like some either one big game or like a variety show with a bunch of different games, and we'll do a 24-hour marathon stream. Whoever wants to come by can come by. And this worked out really well for a handful of years. I want to say our first one was in 2019 or 2018. 2018, I think. And we've done them every year since. Obviously, the pandemic kind of messed with that a little bit in 2020. And I think we actually pushed till June, which was the anniversary of us doing videos, because we didn't get into Let's Plays or any video content until June of 2011. But 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago, we moved about an hour west from where we had been living just outside of Boston for, over a decade. Literally, all but the first year and a half of the D-pad has taken place in the greater Boston area up until late 2023. And the move put us closer to some members of the team, further from others, and also we're all getting on. We're all in our 30s, some of us in our late 30s. And, folks are spread out a little bit more. Folks have things going on. We have one member of the team who's out in a mountain time zone and has been for a couple of years and is maybe coming back sometime soon. We have another who is constantly jet setting to a million different places for work and life and stuff like that. So he's always kind of ping-ponging around a little bit. And in the lead up to this event, it was ooh, our usual get a bunch of people together thing may not necessarily be what's going to happen this year, as two of our, I'd say, four most regular, or five most regular people joining were not able to come for, they had life stuff going on. They were actually out of the state for a while. So it was okay. So we're down to a maximum of 2.5, 3 people that might be able to show up for part of this thing. And it was a bummer in some ways because it was this is planned as a huge event this year in particular, but at the same time, it was such an insane idea, and I hate to keep just dangling what it was, but I will get there in a second. It was such a ludicrous idea that in some ways it made a little bit more sense that it was mostly just going to be me mildly torturing myself with this. So I mentioned before, so usually this is a 24-hour affair. 1 year we did Mario Sunshine. 1 year we did Mario Galaxy. Those were the earlier ones. 1 year we did Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie back to back. And a couple of the years we've done, like I said, big variety shows. So for this one, I realized maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we would be I guess it was more 2-ish years ago. For whatever reason, I was hanging out with folks after we did some recording, and we were talking about Majora's Mask, and I wound up looking it up later and was Majora's Mask came out in April in Japan. I wonder if there's a big anniversary coming up, because there could be one, it'd be fun to just do a thing with Majora's Mask anyway. We could arguably just do a marathon of Majora's Mask, and that could take the full 24 hours. Why the hell not? But I had this pretty wicked idea in my head for a weird modification to do to Majora's Mask. And while I was keeping an eye on these April dates, I was okay, maybe one of these years we'll get a chance to do this thing. And I discovered the Mega Man decompilation project. And I was seeing that the progress on there, especially coming into this past year, I checked in on it last summer, that the decompilation was in the upper 90% complete area. And I was ooh, okay. So the goal of that project, if there's anybody, if any of you guys or anyone that winds up listening is not familiar, the idea is a decompilation project takes a video game or anything really, but in this case, a video game, takes it from like assembly or machine code and turns it into a more human readable format code wise with and once it's decompiled, you can label functions, you can label variables and things like that. And this one was decompiled into C++, which happened to be a language that I used to know back in high school. And right around Christmas of this past year, they suddenly hit 100% after almost a year of sitting at like 97 point whatever percent. They finally got the last bit, and I was like, oh, okay. I should start playing with this. This could be fun for a future thing. And at the same time, I go and look and realize, right, Majora's Mask came out in April 2000, which means this coming April is the 25th anniversary. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can play with this, and we'll see what we can do. And so also, hello, Kirby Boy. The marathon that we wound up doing, which was like 80 or so percent just me, was, all right, the premise. What if you were to play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask with the single edition that if the in-game time ever exceeded the real world time, you are automatically sent back to the start of the first day as if you had played the Song of Time. So I started at 6 a.m. on Friday morning, and we had the stream run for 72 hours until 6 a.m. on Monday for an event we titled Majora's Marathon. And it was an extremely interesting experience for a number of reasons, not the least of which is you would be absolutely stunned just how much of that game you can get done within the first like 2/3 of the first day. We had gotten like literally, if I was willing to stay up a little bit later on the first night, I probably could have gotten all 4 of the dungeons done before like 2-ish a.m., maybe 3 a.m. of the first day of this thing, less than 24 hours, despite not being able to let the clock go beyond that point at any point during the run. So the by the time the second day came around, we were queuing up. We played Evoland for a good portion of the day because there was literally nothing that we could do. The few things that remained were literally inaccessible in the middle of the day on Saturday. And then on Sunday, there was so little left that we actually played the entirety of Evoland 2, which is like a, 15-ish hour game. Like I literally got up to be on camera at 6 o'clock for all 3 of the days. On the third day, we took like an hour to kind of get what little we could do there, and then immediately launched into Evoland 2 with, I think, 2 minor breaks until about like 3 or 4 in the morning, where we finally got the last bits done, because you can't get the couples mask, for example, unless you are able to actually get past 4:30 a.m. on the final day. So no matter what we did, in order to 100% this game, we were absolutely going to have to be awake and active within the last 2 hours of this event. But yeah, it was a fun time. We did wind up having John and Dave managed to join for a little bit. Dave was actually, we weren't expecting that he was that he was gonna be back in time at all from being out of state, but he was like, actually, I'm coming back. That day I could probably swing by. I was like, all right, cool. Same thing with John. He came by earlier in that day, and it was good to have them. Sarah, my girlfriend Sarah, actually wound up with a very popular post on, I think it was the Majora's Mask subreddit. She had posted a picture of, she had made a set of, and this was partly my idea, and she reined it in significantly to a much better idea, which was making custom cupcakes, 24 of them, one for each of the masks in the game, or at least once of the for each of the wearable masks in the game, and each of them was filled with a mystery. Well, not a mystery it wasn't a mystery to me or her, because we planned these out specifically. Normally, for the last like 2 or 3 years, we've had mystery cupcakes for our Extra Life and charity events, because they made a great incentive to potentially torture us with a cupcake that we don't know the fillings of, and they could be something good or something weird or something bad. Literally, the first cupcake that was ever eaten doing this challenge was Dave, and he ate one that was filled with anchovy paste, which set things off on an interesting first note. I want to say his brother Jeff, who's been part of the channel for almost a decade now, actually, then got a salt-filled cupcake. When mine came around, I want to say it was something extremely innocuous like cinnamon or something.
Rick has had extremely annoying good luck with cupcake fillings.
It has been, yes. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can. I think Sarah can hear me upstairs. She sent me the link to the Reddit thing. I'll see if I can make the link happen in here momentarily. But
I still think that, what was it, like 2 tablespoons of cinnamon might actually have been the worst one, because I think that can kill people.
yeah, because what it winds up doing is it coats the inner lining of your mouth and throat, and saliva just can't like get in there. Your throat and esophagus rely on your saliva so much more than I think people realize. And you can get it down into your windpipe as well if you start coughing with it. There's a reason that the cinnamon challenge was like never a good idea when people would do like a heaping tablespoon of the stuff. Like people definitely like hurt themselves with that. And yeah, so it was a grand old time. I'm in the process of editing the videos. Like I mentioned, it's like 450 gigabytes of video. And
Are you
I'm
just
editing
cutting out all the time when nothing was happening, because that helps.
Yeah, there's going to be a few different versions of it. So the main version, the version that is the most like channel lore accurate, I guess we'll say, is a version that removes all of the. It's going to be 3 videos, day 1, day 2, final day, and they're going to take out any of the times where I was asleep. Basically, if I was asleep, there was nobody on mic, and it was just kind of ASMR of Clocktown.
Shots in emoji mode.
Exactly, yeah. So I think the first video will wind up probably being about 16 hours long. The second one's going to be probably like 10, if even. And then the final one is going to be literally, I think, like 25 hours. And that one doesn't really have any breaks because I was on camera the entire time, no breaks. We have a second channel called the D-Pad on Pause. It hasn't been very active lately because I've had a project on there that I'm hoping to finally release soon. But the gist there is videos without breaks, binge style, versions of everything. That one I think is going to just be 3 full 24-hour uploads for that because it just follows the theme. But we are going to have a version of it on probably the main channel that is just Majora's Mask. Cuts out the sleeping, also cuts out the Evoland and Evoland 2 gameplay, and just sticks to the actual Majora's Mask portion. That way, if people are like specifically like looking for that, then they can. And I think that's like 26, 27 hours, something like that.
So that brings up an interesting question. With everything that's going on with VOD storage on Twitch now, how is that impacting the D-pad?
Oh, horribly. We used to have about 300 hours of stored VODs, which I went through and like removed a bunch of. And it's funny you mentioned that because I definitely, the deadline was a couple days ago. And then I noticed, I realized that I had it up because I was like, oh, I should go and like figure out which ones I definitely want to keep, because 73 hours, because there was a bug at the very, very end, and it was one that I figured was going to happen, and it made us stall for a little bit longer. But so 73 hours of that. Okay, it's still there. That's so funny. I currently have 118 hours and 22 minutes of highlights in here. The main reason that there's that is because I kept the 10th anniversary marathon stream specifically, which is 25 hours, which if I only kept that and Majora's Mask would just barely have space. But we also have stuff like our very first Twitch stream I really wanted to keep, and that's a little over an hour. Jeff wound up unlocking an extremely well-known soft lock in Azure Dreams like 5 years ago, and I definitely want to keep that. That's almost an hour. And then my first world record in a game on a technicality, to be fair, but it was the first full run of the game, but it was a very new game. And funny story, if you've never played Super Cable Boy, go play Super Cable Boy. Very charming platformer by Serb. He's a fantastic developer. I got invited to go and I don't even remember how this happened. I got reached out to by one of the 2 people who were doing a race of the game at launch, Jackets and Shredberg. Shredberg is a Super Meat Boy speedrunner primarily. Jackets does a little bit of everything, I believe, but I got invited to that, and they both had a hard time limit on when they could, like, how long they could stay and do this for. And unfortunately, both of them hit their limit and had to leave. So both of them got very, very far in the game, but neither of them were able to actually finish it. So I was like, I guess I'm not doing anything on Saturday. Maybe I'll just play this and try to do it fast. And I did, and I got an okay time at the time. So technically a world record. I'm like, that's 3 hours of stream. I would really like to hang on to that too. And just from that, we've got over 100 hours. And it's like, I think I understand from a business standpoint why Twitch made the decision to do that, but it's like I understand why they put a limit on. I guess I'll put it that way. 100-hour limit seems like cartoonishly small compared to what some folks have on there, and like they can use the explanation that less than 0.1%
of their audience uses less than that, including probably all of the people who never post any videos.
Right? And like, yeah, that's the thing, right? There's a ton of people who post 0 videos, so any averaging is not going to be accurate to anything.
This is just laziness on the part of Amazon. I'm going to tell you this
right now. It really is. They're
because
massive.
As a computer technician for a quarter century, I can tell you right now, storage is cheap. There's no reason for them to do this. What it is their IT department doesn't want to do massive backups and then verify integrity. So they're just like, all right, well, we're fucking lazy, so we just don't want to check all these hours of videos to make sure that they're all still there anymore. So all of you millions of users, put your shit on YouTube. And here's the thing, YouTube's been around 10 years longer than Twitch has, and has probably 10 times the amount of video on it, and they don't seem to be having a problem.
Right?
It's literally what they do, right?
Well, not to mention Amazon owns like 90-something% of all storage on the web. AWS is Amazon Web Services. There's literally a non-existent chance that they don't have the ability to store all of this stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they're pretty much the backbone behind services like Trovo, DLive, Rumble, Kick.
Mm-hmm.
They provided the framework and the server space for all 4 of those.
And like, in some ways, the flip side of this, like an opposite scenario for this, Patreon a few years back was pitching. I forget if they ultimately wound up doing this a few years later. They backed down on the time, but they were going to change how they were handling taxes on Patreon pledges in a way where, because the pitch was, hey, the pledger, the person who is signing up as a patron, is going to cover the taxes on what they pledge, which will allow the creator to get a bigger slice ultimately of what they get. So essentially, if someone signs up for $20, you get the $20, as opposed to before, where it's like, okay, you get $20 minus some percent. I made a video on this that was like, it was platform. It was credit card fee plus a cut for Patreon, which, like, sure, that makes sense. But it wound up doing this big amount of damage numerically, where it's like, okay, so for like most patrons above a certain amount, this actually mathematically works out in their favor, where you're actually spending less for a $10 pledge than you would have otherwise, or like it's a couple cents or whatever, and it's like not a big deal. But when you got all the way down to $1, which was by far the most common pledge amount, it was going to cost like $1.35, $1.40, something along those lines, which, again, a couple cents, technically not much, but you're talking a 35-40% increase for the most common pledge amount. So what's funny with the Twitch thing is the 100-hour limit doesn't affect most of the people on the site, or at least not a ton, but the people who are going to get the most damaged by this are ultimately the most like Twitch focused people, the folks who have been using Twitch as their online backbone for years. And in some cases, the biggest Twitch partners, the folks who have been like financially linked to Twitch for like the better part of a decade, are getting absolutely fucked by this change.
I had
Like
to
there are
carve
folks
out
who
over
have thousands.
1,600 hours of content.
Exactly. Yeah. I saw someone
Yeah,
with
and
about
it's like-
3,000 hours, and it's like this can't be easily moved to YouTube. Like it's way
Oh,
too
no.
much.
I'll give you an example of something we had to deal with here on my channel at Mac Paladin's Retro Gaming Emporium. Gollix and I, when I first started, Gollix and I teamed up on Sundays for 65 weeks to do MS Saga: A New Dawn. And I
Nice.
ended up having to trash the entire long play because there wasn't enough time and I didn't have enough electricity
Mhm.
to migrate all of those videos over to YouTube because the export system is not reliable.
Yeah, we used to use the export system, and I eventually got sick of it for two reasons. The first one being it really seemed to not have amazing quality sometimes, or hell, if it was muted somewhere, then you wound up with just a hole in your audio that you couldn't fix. And two, one of the nice things about some of these streaming programs, so I use XSplit Broadcaster. I need to switch over to OBS or Streamlabs or something, but if you do a local recording, they do this nice thing where it can separate out all the audio tracks so I can re-sound balance in post, which is wonderful because there are definitely times where I fuck that up, and it's really, really nice to be able to clean that up and to not just go like, well, I screwed it up once, and therefore this is what you're stuck with, everybody.
Oh man. I was holding up two fingers as a mental note here because you mentioned a couple of things during your we'll call it a speech.
Sure, yeah. It went on a little longer than I meant, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really interrupt you very much during any of that. But it was funny that you brought up we'll call them jam sessions for your anniversaries and Super Meat Boy, because that's precisely why we stopped doing Jamboree jam session season finales on our series.
Ooh.
On our show was because of Tommy of Super Meat Boy.
Really?
Season 5 finale nearly killed us, and we lost a lot of our archive, and I've recovered quite a bit of it from the Wayback Machine.
Oh,
and
no.
and one episode I will probably not be ever republishing is the season 5 finale from 2011, the year you guys started.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big beef for a while. I mean, we don't talk to Lord Cat, we don't talk to Edmund McMullen, we don't talk to Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Is Lord Cat still alive? He vanished
Is he?
years ago.
I was gonna say that name just like I feel like I've unlocked a core memory just hearing that name again. It's been eons for me.
He's lucky I didn't sue him, because he tried to extort us to get an interview with Tommy of Super Meat Boy.
Oh man.
over that incident. He's lucky I didn't sue him for abandoning us. But it's just funny because it seems like 2011 was a nexus point. You guys got started. We nearly cratered.
Oh man, it's like one of the more fascinating things at this point, because it's been so long, and I'm sure that you guys can relate to this in a big way, is every year, usually the start of the year. I think last year has started to kick off the January high volume of this, but we're starting to see more and more folks either retiring or switching gears or kind of doing like a new, softer, more casual venture than what they were doing before, compared with, and these are all folks who came around usually somewhere in that first half of the 2010s, like going up to like maybe 2016-ish, somewhere around there. And it's just fascinating to me because like I don't remember 2011 YouTube, but I definitely feel like it's so hazy in some ways. Like I've got a crisper idea of like 2014, 2015, but like 2011 was just such a new. It was still kind of at the time sort of new for folks to be kind of getting into it in such a deep way, as opposed to just using it for like video not video blogging the way we think of it today, but like almost like video journaling, I guess. But like
Right.
we've kind of reached the point where it's like, all right, I'm kind of trying to keep an eye out at this point for who's left of the like pre like 2012 2013 crowd of content creators on any platform, but mostly YouTube, because that was the option back then. But like the number of folks from that like first like 5-ish years of YouTube is like slowly drifting away. We're all getting old as shit. So it's interesting to see like who's still kicking around, who's still got it, right? And like the directions that some people have gone too, because some have gone some really wild spirals off into different areas too.
And it's funny that you say that, because like I consider this era of Moonhawk Studios Presents and my podcast and everything that I'm doing to be sort of the genesis of my second act, if you will. I'm semi-retired from retail. I did 25 years of that. I'm 48 years old. I'm starting to feel like Team Coco. I'm starting to feel like Team Coco now.
Excellent.
Conan O'Brien's 60. Conan O'Brien
is he really
60 fucking years old?
God, he's only 7 years younger than J.R.R. Tolkien, George R.R. Martin at this point. Yeah. We were talking about that just before we came on. It's like they couldn't look further apart.
I was just watching John Mulaney on Conan O'Brien's podcast. It's what is it called? Who Wants to Be Friends with Conan or whatever?
Oh, something like that.
Yeah, and he's got what's her name, Sona, his former personal assistant, is now his executive producer, and it's just such an interesting. It's just so interesting how we made fun of podcasting back in the day. It's like oh yeah, it's gonna be the next best thing, and everybody's like pshaw. But now like everybody who is anybody is doing that because they want to have total control over their content now.
Which, like, to be fair, there's so much shit that is like worming its way into every area of creative everything at this point that I kind of get it. Like, I do understand the yen to like wanting to have your own like space and just field where you're like, this is my mental workshop. This is the area that I get to play in. And I get to make all the rules. I get to build the Connect set, and everything fits inside of it neatly because I say so. And it's just kind of a nice, like we started as a podcast and we did it for about 3 years before we decided, the YouTube thing is honestly kind of more fun, and it's getting kind of hard to like plan the podcast. But like for the last 4 years in particular, I keep going back and forth in my head every couple months, being like, maybe I do another podcast. Maybe I do something a little more casual. Maybe I get back into it. It's nice to just of hang.
Yeah. And shows like Only Murders in the Building, of course, made it cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think part of it...
I'm like, I wish I could get Nathan Lane to cut me a check for $10,000 for equipment right now.
Oh, man, seriously. Holy shit. Well, I think part of it, too, is like the pitch for podcasts has changed so much over the last like 10 years in particular, and 15 years, where for a while in the earlier days, it was like a super hobbyish like thing. You just kind of have in college, I very briefly had we called it a radio show. It was really basically just a podcast and music thing that I was running off of like a Winamp module or something, and I did it for like a month or two before it just kind of like dissolved because it was college, whatever. But it went from kind of a hobbyist sort of thing into, I don't know if it, like, I feel a little guilty being like all of it is Mark Maron's fault in some way, but like I feel like Mark Maron was kind of the epoch for people going, oh shit, podcast can be like a thing, TM. And suddenly every person had a podcast as a brand for themselves. Like every celebrity was getting in on it in some way or another. And you got your Mark Marons, you got your Joe Rogans, obviously, and you got a lot of folks across the wide spectrum in between. And for a while, podcasts just kind of had the stink in some ways of being like, all right, every white guy's got a podcast, every podcast is pitching something. And yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, but it's just kind of like, yeah, it became a thing where it was like, it became like marketing in some way more than just either A, casually hanging out, or B, what then spun off into like the murder. Oh, geez, I'm trying to remember. The genre has like a real name, but like the murder podcast.
True crime.
True crime, yes, exactly. Which kind of spawned off from that in some ways and had its own separate life from like the other forms of podcast. But I think somewhere around the pandemic, people got lonely. Obviously, people got isolated, and it kind of came back in vogue in a little way of like, okay, I'm just feeling lonely and I just want to talk to people. So I'm just going to do a podcast because it gives me an excuse to hang out with my friends. And like, I think a lot of that early marketing stink has kind of come off of it in a lot of ways where like now a lot of people are doing podcasts and it's less like you can find me on Apple Podcast and Spotify and here and here and it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm doing this. It's in these two places. Come hang out, watch it later. We were on Apple Podcast at one point too.
Yeah. And what's interesting about it is I think we're seeing the sort of dismantling of the gatekeepers. That's what it really boils down to. We're seeing the dismantling of the gatekeepers, and so we're now getting access to content that we could not only have dreamed about a decade and a half ago, and there is a market for literally anything at this point.
That's the big thing is I think when podcasting first came around, it was such a DIY thing. And again, like the celebrity folks who kind of got into it early had a lot more means. They had the money, they had the connections to be able to get really professional shit lined up early. So they had a huge head start. Nowadays, we're in a world where we've got Elgato and we've got Behringer and we've got all of these companies that specifically make really nice podcasting and podcasting adjacent gear at a really good consumer level. So you can get like really nice microphones and audio hookups and all of these visual effects and things too. And they're dirt cheap, so easy to get now. So it's like, okay, it's a much more approachable thing. Whereas before it would be like, I don't know, would there even be a video component in the first place, or is it just a purely audio thing? And you see that nowadays too, where there's a handful that are just audio. They you go on like, I guess 538 doesn't exist anymore. They used to have a podcast that was, you tune in and it's literally the little waveform and that's it.
Right. But I mean, Rick, look, I am literally sitting here on my Galaxy S23 FE in the Whole Foods parking lot using the Android CarPlay in my Ford Fusion to do this show over Discord. It's just, you don't even need a full-on studio anymore.
That's
my car
so true.
has such great acoustics.
Well, I mean, ironically, phones have advanced a lot in terms of cleaning up audio. There was a point up until like 2018, 2019 where phone technology with like audio signal and shit hadn't changed almost at all in like 40 years. And then suddenly someone went, oh, hey, what if we actually work on like noise reduction and a little acoustic dampening and stuff like that? And suddenly, oh my God, everyone sounds amazing on phones now.
The HD call standard and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because people care.
Let's talk about me. Let's talk about me dialing the entire crew into Talk Shoe via my Galaxy 2S back in 2011. Yeah,
I am too sober to go back down this shithole.
We were on Mixler for a little while. I get it.
Trying to transmit to Ustream and Livestream.
Oh man. Well, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that so you're doing this from your phone in a parking lot. This is, I think, the first time I've actually been at home on here with you guys. At the very least once, if not, maybe even twice. I think I was away from home by hundreds of miles, and last time I was absolutely on vacation, and I don't even know if I was in the country. So for once, I'm actually like I'm literally sitting using the same mic I usually do for recording and streaming. So it's just like, I can be on the couch. I can be comfortable and doing it from here. It's amazing how much has changed and how little has changed at the same time.
Now, I want to change up a little bit here because in an unusual burst of inspiration, I have been on point throughout this entire podcast. So that, but this is really Adam and Golix's wheelhouse. Golix, of course, being your point of contact.
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
with us, and of course Adam being our professional interviewer here. So
Yes.
I want to give them a chance to actually talk during this show. So whoever wants to go first, Adam, Golix, jump in. I didn't mean to monopolize the whole thing here.
Golix, you go.
I think you've been doing a pretty good job, and you've been talking about a lot of the recent projects. I did want to comment about the streaming you've been doing lately. You've been doing a lot of collaborative streaming with some other people, as well as continuing
this
games that you were already doing.
Yeah, ironically, literally, like, I think maybe a month after we moved out of Boston, I got pulled in. The conversation might have started around, like, before we moved, but I got pulled in by Chris Clark, who runs a channel called Clark's Madness and does a series called Mario Party Madness, had reached out, and he's been doing amazing, like, collaborative Mario Party streams with tons of mods of all kinds of crazy shit, lots of really creative events, tons of cool people over there. And since I think October 2023, I think was my first stream with them, which included friends of our show, Born Losers Gaming, Ian and Casey from over there. It was great to hang out with them for that. We're actually working on doing a collaborative thing with them fairly soon, if I can figure out timing, because everything's a little bit dicey. They're extremely busy, and I am also pretty busy a lot of the time. So I'm trying to, like, carefully, like, navigate that while not getting in their way. But Mario Party streams, they do them at least every Monday, and sometimes more often than that. They've also expanded into, like, Sonic Shuffle, Fortune Street. We're going to be doing some Mario Kart World when that comes out. It's been awesome kind of getting involved with a bunch of them. As far as more like direct collaborative streams, I've done a few now with primarily Shad JV, one of the folks who participates in that Mario Party Madness, and also the Digital Bonfire. They kind of merged to do a bunch of these. We've done, like, Ocarina of Time multi-world randomizers. We did one at first that was myself, Shad, Soen, and Zykrol doing a 4-player. Just a fairly standard multi-world randomizer. I don't think we had a huge amount of, like, crazy shit going on in there, because myself and Shad were very, very comfortable with Ocarina. The other two were a little bit greener on it, so we didn't want to, like, completely overwhelm them. But that was, like, a year or so ago. When we were done with that, Shad reached out to me. I was like, "Hey, I was thinking about doing another one of those. How would you feel about doing an Ocarina randomizer that is basically as hard as we can possibly make it?" So we turned on almost every difficulty increasing switch we possibly could. We were originally trying to see if we could do, like, 3 or 4 people, but when we reached out to a couple folks, either folks were, like, not able to commit to doing it every Wednesday, or they weren't feeling like they were confident enough in being able to do this one, which might have been the smart call. Or they were saying, it might have been the right call, because Shad and I really hit some brick walls with this. We did have to cheat once. I think it was exactly once. We did go to the spoiler. We had someone else went to the spoiler logs to verify something for us.
Restart after your first one, didn't you?
We did.
You didn't realize that apparently, in basic logic, is that if you reset the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you save and quit the game in one of the hallways in the Gerudo Fortress, it reloads you in a different hallway.
Yeah, we ran into so it was a pair of problems that came in technically in the same stream. So our 5th stream, we had done 4 streams, and we were getting further into it. We weren't doing, like, incredible, but we were kind of feeling it out. The 5th stream we go to start, and before we go live, Shad messages me, is like, "Hey, do you see so we used a program called," and I can highlight it, see what it's called, Mido's House Multiworld, which is a multi-world tool for Ocarina of Time. And he was like, "Hey, our server isn't showing up in that list. Do you see it?" And I was like, "No, I was actually literally just typing the same to you." And so we reconstructed the server, and we're like, "Well, we still have the save games, so let's just, like, hop on and see if it can work. And we get in there, and I miraculously I find Shad's Zelda's letter, which unlocks a whole bunch of stuff with the rules that we had. And he did not receive it on his side, and we went, well, shit, because we had talked about it before the stream. Like, what do we do if this is actually dead? It's like, then we're just gonna literally reseed the game and start completely over, which we did, and we were moving very quickly after a while because the first stream. So we did this not just as an item randomizer, which is kind of the classic one, but we also did an entrance randomizer. So every time the game has to load a new location, so if you're traveling from the overworld into a building, into a dungeon, or into technically into a boss room also, or into a different overworld location, it will send you to a random. I mean, it's not random every time. It picks one and then you go there forever. One of those locations. So I spawned essentially in the Gerudo Fortress. So tons of doors. Seems like a great place to start, except basically every door that I could reach at the time, because this was me as Child Link with no extra stuff on. So about half the doors I could get to, all of them were like shops and boring houses that had nothing in them. One of them had bomb chew bowling, but I couldn't do that till I got bombs or bomb chews. And one of them only, and the exit that you could normally take back to Gerudo Valley goes into Zora's domain behind King Zora. So that was a dead end. So I was like, uh-oh. One of the doors of Gerudo Valley, of the Gerudo Fortress, took me to Lon Lon Ranch. I'm like, okay, this is fine. Trying out the doors there. They also lead to like shops and like dead ends, basically. I'm like, okay, this isn't looking good. So I walk out I should correct, the way to get from Gerudo Fortress to Lon Lon's Ranch was through one of the Gerudo's hideout areas. It's technically number 4. It's the area that's got a person who's in jail and there's 4 torches in the room. But so, leaving Lon Lon Ranch, I wind up at Zora's Fountain, which if you're familiar with Ocarina of Time, you'll remember that Zora's Fountain only has one exit, and that's usually back into Zora's domain. So this was an elaborate dead end. Like, I could get into 2 dungeons, ultimately, and there was a cave to the side that would get me indoors somewhere, but I realized all of a sudden, I'm like, uh-oh, I can't leave from here. I've got Gerudo Fortress, Lon Lon Ranch, and Zora's Fountain, and that's all of the exits I can get to. I think I'm stuck until either which I couldn't, I ran out of things to do. Literally 25 minutes in, I became BK'd is the term for when you literally cannot advance anyone's world in a multi-world. 25 minutes in, I ran out of things that I could do, and I'm like, uh-oh, we're in deep shit here. Shad may have to find one of my warp songs for me to actually, not just one of my warp songs, a warp song, an ocarina, and all of the relevant buttons, because we made ocarina buttons in the item pool. So this was slightly panic mode, and I spent about 4 or 5 hours just trying to figure out any way out of this predicament, while Shad was picking up stuff and all of that. In between streams, one of Shad's viewers, that's usually in his Discord, wound up taking a peek at the spoiler log and came to the conclusion that, hey, there are not enough notes and warp songs in Shad's game to get me out of there. But we knew that the logic meant that I had to get out of there, and it turns out if you are standing in the thieves' hideout and you save and reset. So normally, if you're in the overworld, you save and reset. You start from your spawn point, which for Child Link was Gerudo Fortress. If you're in a dungeon, it'll respawn you at the entrance to the dungeon. The thieves' hideout counts as a dungeon, and when you save and reset, regardless of what corridor you're in, out of the 6 that there are, you will always respawn at a specific entrance to the first corridor, which in this case was not even the hallway that I was in, and this allowed me to actually continue the game. Technically, this is all considered in logic, and it was just like, well, all right. That's a pretty brutal way to start this thing. It comes
down to like amount of expertise with the game before
yeah.
like a hacked to bit randomizer, but
absolutely, yeah. It's so my luck that mine would require this really niche piece of knowledge that like even not even just in the vanilla game, but in most randomizers, even with entrance randomization, you probably would never really need to have that. Like, you could know that it's there and use that to your advantage to kind of like jump across the map faster, which I actually never really did after that. I probably could have, but it was just such a fascinating little like, oh yeah, if you don't know this, then you cannot advance beyond these first 3 screens. We did figure it out. We did wind up completing the whole thing. I think it was a 36-hour series altogether for the second run. The first run we wasted about 20 hours before we had to reset. We're planning some more down the line. We have some ideas in mind, but we're not coming back to it till at least the fall. Because we both were like, yeah, we need like a big breather after that. Those are also being edited and put online. They're not there yet, but they are referred to as the Ocarina of Space Time. So something to look forward to there.
Nice.
At least on that one, you seem to do a bit of a better job on not trying to glitch your way past things, only to find out that a lot of the stuff past them actually isn't super helpful.
Yeah, so what wound up happening with our first 4-player one, I think that was like 50-ish hours altogether. I would have to go back and look, but it was 4 players, and we kind of went in with the expectation that because it's 4 players, there's a good chance 1 or 2 people might be fully stuck for a little while the other 2 are kind of finding items and helping advance stuff. But we reached a point where both myself and Shad both had completely nothing to do, and so at various points I'd be like, okay, I literally have no items I can do. I could do one of 2 things. Well, one of 3 things. One, I just put the controller down and just do nothing and hang out and talk, which sometimes I did when I was like frustrated. But option 2 is pick up another game and just start streaming that on top while I wait, which seemed a little rude. I was like, I'm not going to do that. Option 3, ZeldaSpeedruns.com has a pretty thorough library of glitch techniques. And so I started learning some in real time, because I had, by the end of it, I spent 20 hours across that entire series, unable to do literally anything. So I learned how to go out of bounds in the water temple. I learned how to go through the gate in the shadow temple. I learned how to go through, in this one, I learned how to backflip through the lab in Lake Hylia. Tons and tons of stuff that, like, in some ways could potentially hotwire the logic of the overall thing, but it does carry the danger that if you need a specific thing to move forward, because the whole thing is built on a logic that's like, at all points, someone has the key to unlock you to advance to the next thing. So by skipping some of this, we are in some ways deprioritizing the finding of the thing that actually is supposed to make it go forward. So if it's like, oh, I don't have the boomerang, so I can't do this, but I can glitch through it this way, by giving more options to the other players, it does also mean that my boomerang might become a little harder to find because they've got way more options now. So like there's a risk and reward to it, where it's a little more of a short-term gain, but it can result in a longer overall experience if it means that you've got, paralysis or decision paralysis of where to go look next. It was fascinating though. I think I made a separate video for that series just of me doing those glitch techs, and I think it's like 45 minutes long. I might see if I can find it real fast and throw it in here, but it was a wild time. It was very interesting. I'm not turned off from doing 45 minutes. I'm not turned off from doing more randomizers in the future, but it was definitely an eye-opening experience in its own way.
Yeah, it's tricky because, yeah, like you said, the way the basic logic is structured, if you get past stuff, there can't be anything too necessary past there.
Yeah, like there might be something necessary eventually that's in there, but it does bypass the necessary thing that would get you there. So like sometimes it can work out if it's a matter of, oh, I needed a boss key. Well, now I don't need the boss key. That one's a safe enough one to do, because the boss key, once you bypass that, you don't need the boss key anymore. The boss key is only for one thing. But if you're bypassing stuff that's like, well, I don't have the hammer right now, it's like, okay, you need that hammer later probably. So it's there's some danger there for sure.
Or you don't need it ever, and you unlock you unlocked the ability to go into a whole bunch of places that aren't necessary at all.
Exactly. Yeah. One thing that we really didn't do in the 4-player game, it didn't come up because I don't think any of us got the Mask of Truth until like absurdly late in the game. But we got the Mask of Truth a lot earlier this time, and I don't know that Shad or I ever actually talked to Gossip Stones, which in randomizers will give you at least some semblance of a hint where like important things may be. Like they'll say like, oh, the water temple is a fool's errand, and that basically means nothing required in the water temple. Don't even bother with it. Or you may get one that's like, oh, this is part of the hero's quest. And it's like, okay, so the fire temple, that's got important shit. It might even have a light arrow. We got to go in there. We didn't really do that, though, to be fair, so frequently we were basically just clearing out entire areas because it was the only place we could go that I don't even know how much it would have helped us either. Like, we had boxes and crates and pots were included in the item randomization, so there were just absolute shitloads of item drops for us to check constantly. Until there were very, very few in the end.
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, besides that, it seems like, I assume you're working on things behind the scenes, but you have, well, no, there's actually quite a bit of Pokemon going on right now. So
yeah, so we've been doing Pokemon on the channel since 2012. I think April 2012 I started Pokemon Fire Red with the intent that John was going to be my buddy John, who's been kind of my number 2 for most of this, was supposed to be playing Pokemon Leaf Green. We were going to create what eventually became our Padlock format, which is basically 2 simultaneous Nuzlocks, have a battle at each gym, and then after the Elite Four. Versions of this are not like super common, but fairly common now. I wouldn't go and say like we invented this necessarily, but I think we were in the earlier era of when people were kind of screwing around with like a multiplayer idea, because I know that Gameface Max and Lynn, who are also friends of our channel, did a similar thing around that same time, and I don't think either of us really found out about that until later, so just sheer random luck that wound up happening that way. But so we had a number of series, and over time it got harder. Like, John travels a lot, so he's a little harder to pin down sometimes. So our series, which used to be like a year, kind of got to a point where most of these Pokemon competitive series are now like more like 3 years per game, and they start to overlap after a while because earlier on we were trying to do games when they were new. Nowadays we've mostly backed off on the new Pokemon games for that, because the format doesn't really work for them anymore, just because of various changes. Some of the open world aspect of Gen 8 and 9 kind of changed how we would have to approach it, and
yeah,
it's probably
one of the core things in a Nuzlocke is limitations on catches, and you have to, even with Scarlet and even with Sword and Shield with the wild area, if you just do one catch in the entire wild area, that's the game is not really balanced for that. And then Scarlet and Violet, it does not break down the areas like, there are technically areas that are differentiated, but it's not neatly.
Yeah, with Sword and Shield, you're totally right. The game is definitely not balanced in a way where Nuzlocks really function properly if the wild area is considered one big area. The towns are much more, maybe it's just me, but it does seem like the towns are a lot more compressed in terms of space, like distance from each other in Sword and Shield, so there's a lot less room to go and get stuff. It's also got the modern RPG aesthetic of like random encounters that are visible on the map, which is, a much more common thing that, like, Dragon Quest XI did the same thing. A lot of RPGs are kind of getting into that now. And then, the wild area, you could make an argument that, like, each different kind of named zone of the wild area is a different one, which kind of works, but it does also mean you like
rules about when you go, how often you get stuff, because otherwise that's way too many right off the bat.
Exactly.
And also, certain things are level locked out.
Yep. And like I saw there were some folks who were suggesting like, oh, okay, what if you get to grab a new one either in general or from a new zone you haven't caught one from, for each badge, for example, which is like, okay, that's fine. It does mean a lot of going back and forth, which kind of messes with pacing a little bit, but it was a little bit like we kind of realized ahead of time for that game. It's like, this is going to be a lot more work than it might be worth to try to like force the format to behave with it nicely. So we just kind of did like a regular coverage of that. Like Ben and Jeff on the channel were doing kind of a cooperative, like we're just going to play through the game as normal. And then with Scarlet and Violet, I wound up streaming Violet and doing kind of a Living Dex quest for that. Because I was like, all right, if we're not going to do as an open world, it's like, okay, each of the 4 areas have some broken down spots, but like you can go literally anywhere right away. So that also messes with with the ability to have like a structured Nuzlocke kind of quest there, and it again didn't really work. But so when we had a handful of series that were sort of on hiatus, and a big thing going into the end of last year was I wanted to bring back as many, if not all of them, as possible. So that we could, start to wind them down. This included continuing with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which was the active series at the time, and we're just about done with that. We're actually down to I think we've got about 5 more episodes to record, and then we'll be completely done with that. And that started 3.5 years ago. Heart Gold and Soul Silver is our new series for that. Heart Gold versus Soul Silver. We're about 20 or so % of the way through that right now. This included Pokemon. We brought back Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, a series that John and I recorded 4 episodes of almost a decade ago, and John was really not feeling it, and I was kind of tepid on it myself. So we're like, maybe we'll come back to it later when we have time. And like 9 years go by, and I got the itch. Was like, people do keep talking about whether or not this is ever going to come back. Maybe I surprise them by like bringing it back. I now have a new way that I process 3DS footage that's much crisper and cleaner. It'll look nice. So we brought that back. It's on pause right now while we're finishing off Brilliant Diamond, but it is going to come back in the next couple of weeks again. We brought back Pokemon Insurgents, which was a game that we had to stop in like 2016, 2017 because the game wasn't done yet at the time. The game just stopped. Like, it was in development still. So at the 2/3 mark, the game literally tells you this is as far as the game is developed. Come back soon. So the idea was, I will grab that save file off the old laptop that we recorded with, put it on the new computer, and just jump in. And when I went to the old computer, I found all of our old recording, zone, like a bunch of our project files and stuff, and I found the old game, the old game exe. And when I clicked it open, there was no save file present, and I don't know where that save file went. So I essentially had to replay a Nuzlocke of a notoriously difficult Pokemon fan game. I cheated a lot in getting it set up because I was like, okay, the road to getting here, 138 episodes of this, was literally would be impossible to replicate just from the sheer luck of some of these things, including at least 3 instances where a battle came down to the last possible turn I could have survived the battle in for one reason or another. So I used I think it was Cheat Engine is the program. It basically lets you target an exe file, and you can see all the hex stuff that's going on, and you can manipulate things. And so oh no, Kirby, you too. Okay, so this is very interesting. I wonder if it's entirely possible that something changed in like Windows architecture that rerouted it, and Insurgents just doesn't know where to find those saves anymore or something like that. But yeah, so Cheat Engine lets you manipulate the hex values of stuff. So I did that to be like, okay, I'm going to lock this Pokemon's health at 999 just so I can plow through and like move forward and just get caught up with where it is. I recaught all the same Pokemon. I named them all the same. I even got them killed on purpose in the same battles they died in originally, just to get it as close as possible to a 1-to-1 to the original game. The differences are super minor, and ultimately didn't wind up making a difference, but we got it all the way up to that, and then we just started. We just part 139 just went up, and I intentionally gave it as little fanfare as possible, such that it was like, yeah, no, the game's just, yeah, we're just back in it. We're just here. It's just the next episode. I think that one might have been the biggest surprise. We did it for, a bunch of I'm realizing this was for Pokemon Day. This was February. Because for Pokemon Day, we had a new chunk of Heart Gold. We had a new chunk of Brilliant Diamond after like 7 months of a hiatus there. Super Mystery Dungeon had a new episode. Insurgents had a new episode. I think that was also the day that I did the first. So far, it's of one, but I finally have my schedule clear so I can start doing more streams of this. The first episode / stream of what I've titled Pokemon the Very Best. There is a person named oh god, what was it called? It was something Tree. They're the unimportant one in this story, but essentially there was a person who many years back decided they wanted to see if they could level up Cloud and Barrett to level 99 in the very first screen of Final Fantasy VII, and it was taking a long time, and eventually he this was a thing on like the Something Awful forums, I want to say. It took a long time. He started getting combative with folks in the threads who were asking why things seemed to be slowing down in terms of like how often streams were happening. And eventually another person named Circle Master showed up, was like, this guy's a toolbox. I'm going to do it. And he did. And he got all the way to there. There's a great, I think Cybershell did a great video on this. And it wound up being the inspiration. I was like, okay, I've kind of toyed around with this idea in my head for a little bit. I wonder how this will go. So I have a stream series where the goal is I treat it, technically this is a valid Nuzlocke too, which is hilarious. I started the game, I grabbed my starter, I think it was a Squirtle. I went and did the parcel delivery for Professor Oak, went back to Viridian City, I bought some Pokeballs, I caught a Rattata, went back to the Pokemon Center, and I released my starter. And now I've just got a Rattata. And the goal is I go back to Route 1, and I not just Route 1, I went back home and slept there because that will that now considers that my spawn point if I faint. And now I am only staying on Route 1 and Pallet Town until that Rattata is level 100. I did a lot of calculations going into this because I wanted to make sure, like, is this actually possible or is this going to ruin my life? And the answer is, this is probably going to be about 400 hours of streaming. As of the first stream, Strats the Rattata is at level 15, which is extremely deceptive because of how levels work in Pokemon. In fact, because
they're
of the...
approximately cubic.
Yes, for Rattata, it's actually exactly cubic. There's the different experience yield, not yield, experience... They use a term for it. I forget what it is, but essentially how many experience points you need for a level. There used to be 4. I think now there's 6. But Rattata is on the one that is exactly whatever level you're trying to reach. The number of experience points you need for that is that level cubed. So to get to 100, you need exactly 1 million experience points.
And the things on Route 1 and Gen 1 give out like double-digit experience.
Yes, I believe the spread, because I did the math on this as well. I believe the spread is between 15 and 24 experience points per battle, depending on the level of the Pidgey or Rattata that you face.
Also, absolutely nothing will happen of note after you get to level... let me double-check this. Rattata learns its last move at 34.
Wonderful. Now, to be fair, there is one thing that will keep happening over and over and over again that hasn't happened yet, but it absolutely will in the second stream, which is the wonderful fun of having to hit the B button to cancel evolution 81 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a grand old time. As for how deceptive that level 15 is, it seems like, almost a sixth of the way there. Absolutely not. I am about 1/3% of the way there based off of that. It was a very short first stream. Based off of the math, if you wanted to figure out what is the halfway point, you would be at the halfway point of getting a Rattata to level 100, basically right as Rattata hits level 80. That is almost, it is just a little over, it is 512,000 experience points, is level 80. So it's going to move very quickly at first, and then very, very slowly after that. We have topics of conversation kind of slated ahead of time, and like a polling system for a future series that I'm working on for next year. Generational Trauma, which is a genlock that I am cooking up, where the rules are at least in part being decided by polls that are taking place during the very best streams. It's going to be a very interesting time on that as well, but that is a problem for next year, Rick.
Oh my goodness.
I've fully fallen into my mad science arc as a content creator.
It feels like that. It's some of the regular stuff feels like it's kind of falling off a little compared to the randomizers and
It has been a little bit
streams, but
yeah.
I understand there's other reasons why a lot of some of those things are
yeah. There's
happening.
Sometimes it's circumstantial stuff. It should be getting, in some ways, it should be getting a little better soon. Dave and Jeff were away for a couple months, but they're kind of getting back into things now. John has also been kind of off and on flighty in terms of availability, but recently he's been much, much more available. So we've got some more stuff that's going to involve him coming around the bend as well. And some of it too is just I've been freelancing on the during the day a lot of the time, so there's been like scheduling stuff, and to a certain extent the world is also a constant fireball of kerosene, so it gets a little distracting at times too. It does get a little bit tough to keep the mental energy pointed forward, which is, there's good days and bad days, but I do the best I can and try to get that stuff out there.
The first rule of space travel with rockets, and that is that if you smell rotten eggs, you are already dead. You got about 10 seconds to live.
We actually, weirdly related, I guess. Very quickly, well, two things. One, when we first moved into this house, we wound up lightly flooding part of the basement the first night that I came here, because Sarah got here a couple days before while I was getting the last of stuff staged at the old apartment to move it out. And the first night after we finally had everything here and myself, we wound up flooding part of the basement, which wound up becoming a whole thing. But the following, I think summer, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. We have a boiler. It's actually literally, it's going on and off while we're doing this on the other side of like a slatted wooden door from me, like 15 feet away. But there was a day where I think Sarah and I had like gone outside. We like brought out the trash or something. We came inside, and I came into the recording space because this is where I just kind of do work and editing and all that. And the boiler was not just going off, but it seemed a little more like intense than normal in a way where it was like, that doesn't sound great. That sounds kind of bad, actually. And I went upstairs and I tell Sarah, I was like, hey, we might want to call somebody. I think something's up with the boiler. And we came downstairs, and it was like noticeably louder and clangier and more intense with its like steam shit that it's doing. And it's like, okay, we're gonna hit the like emergency switch on this thing and get the cats and go outside and like call somebody. We called someone to come and take a look at it earlier because there was something that needed replacing, and apparently there was some faulty part that was in there. One, the emergency switch didn't work at all, which was like, oh, that's bad, obviously.
I usually want those to work.
Yeah, there was a point like we were kind of looking stuff up on our phones while we were outside. The cats were in the cat carriers and not happy either. And it's like, oh yeah, if this goes wrong for much longer, it could literally blow up our house. Okay, that's cool. So we called back the guys who had just done maintenance, and they came in and they looked at it. And two things: one, what was causing this freak out was like essentially a faulty part that was in there. Obviously we bought this from someone who had owned the place for decades before we got here. And it was just an old thing that was in there that had just broken. But not only that, and they did fix it, and it's worked great ever since. Essentially, the part that was broken was the one that helped regulate whether or not it should keep heating up the water that was in it. So it was just permanently heating up all of the water in there as much as it could without stopping. And they took a temperature reading. Apparently, this thing was like spitting out water at 200 or so degrees, like just south of boiling water that they had to like get past to turn this shit off and like do all of this. So like they were safe, which is good, but it was just like, oh, that is extremely scary. Okay. I don't know if I could do that job myself. That would terrify me. But yeah, it smelled really weird down here for like a good couple days, and the day of, which is what really kind of tipped us off that something was definitely wrong, which that just kind of reminded me of.
Floods due to 155-degree water mains breaking under my apartment was 2024 Mac Paladin.
Oh no! Oh, so you know what I'm talking about then? Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah, twice.
Ooh,
they
shit.
they jackhammered up the foundation and repaired the pipe, and then the concrete guys, who were also the landscapers, oddly enough,
Interesting.
threw the broken chunks of concrete back on the pipe and broke it again.
Oh my god.
So they put down fresh vinyl, and I was starting to move things back into the room, and I noticed there was this basketball-sized hot bubble in the new vinyl.
Oh Jesus.
3 weeks later, so they had to come in and replace, what was it, 30 feet of pipe.
Oh my god.
redo it, and then put new vinyl down again, and then I had to paint that whole room.
Was this like an apartment with a landlord situation, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was the maintenance team did the first one where they jackhammered it out and repaired the pipe, and the second time they had to dig under the wall into the bathroom, and they were putting in a new shower stall at the same time, and it was a mess.
Oh my god.
So thank you for triggering my PTSD on.
So yeah, sorry about that.
Floods.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh my god. At the very least, and the reason I asked about the apartment and landlord kind of thing with that is, at the very least, that's the situation where it's like, hey, landlord, you have to fix this kind of scenario. One of my friends, well, two of my friends, they're married, but they have a condo with an HOA, and they got shoehorned into being in charge of it because everybody else in the HOA is like 75 years old, and they just don't want to do it anymore. And so anything that goes wrong, they have to like front the money for it before they can collect from everybody else, and it's a huge fucking nightmare. They had an issue with their main as well. So at the very least, you didn't have to worry. Yep.
Yeah, HOAs are modern redlining.
Oh, it's
I
awful.
have a rant about that too.
Oh yeah.
Well,
they're trying to get out of there. They're hoping to get out of there in the next year. Hopefully they will.
And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, then during the monsoon season, we actually had a near tornado and torrential flooding in the mountains.
Ooh, dang.
And I had 2 feet of water in my apartment.
Holy shit.
End to end. So this is, I literally had like feral kittens drowning in my yard, and so you talk about all the worst possible things that could happen. It's like, first it was hot water. So first of all, it was the shower stall collapsed under my big ass foot.
Oh my god!
And then they replaced that, and then they had to redo all the flooring and drywall because of hot water flooding. And then the entire apartment flooded, so I had to get rid of moldy carpeting in the front bedroom.
Are you by chance a pharaoh or anything like that? This is starting to sound a slight bit biblical.
Yeah, I was. The problem is I pillaged King Tut's tomb, and that
would do it. The curse of Tut. Yeah.
In a former life, I obviously pillaged some pharaoh's tomb or something.
Oh man, amazing!
Trying to go full Laura Croft and paid the price.
Didn't return the slab. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you make wishes from the genie, remember that every wish has a cost.
Yep. It's wish upon. It's all over again.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh no.
So we're running low on time here because we're all old now. Have to go to bed.
Yeah, I feel like I've talked you guys' ear off per question. I apologize for rambling.
No, you're doing great. We love this. That's not the problem. We're just old and we can't handle it anymore.
Oh, I hear that.
you pretty much covered everything as far as self-promotion, but did you want to recap real quick on anything you've got coming up
Oh boy.
in the immediate foreseeable future that you want to point to specifically?
Yeah.
As a sort of parting note.
Sure. Majora's Marathon VODs should be going up in the next couple weeks if things go well. I have it takes forever to get through them. Same goes for Ocarina of Space Time that I was talking about. Those will also be going up very soon. I'm hoping by the end of July. I've been calling it the big video. I've been working on this thing for almost, I think at this point, like a year and a half, maybe even almost 2 years now. It's big. It's heavy, and I'm very proud of what I've put together for it so far, and I can't really talk about it without kind of giving away the game on what it's all about, but
right.
It will be a big thing, I think. I'm going to be spreading the word about it. Depending on the folks who are related to it, you may see it cross your timeline entirely divorced from me posting it myself, so we'll see how that goes, but you'll know it when you see it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to have you. We're gonna have to have you back next season or something like that. We can't go 10 years between visits.
Yeah, I'd love to be back anytime. Happy to come and hang and talk your ears off.
And before you, huh?
Technically, it's only been 2 years since his last appearance on our programming. That was Ragnar.
That's right,
yeah,
yes.
But I'm saying on MSP it was like 2015.
Right.
Was it really that long ago? Oh
yeah,
my god.
That was our 2-year YouTube era.
Wow, holy cow.
Which is now where we're archiving everything. Actually, that brings up an interesting thought real quick here. Petty Fan, did you record the pre-show? Petty Fan Live?
Whoop.
I think it gets recorded by default, doesn't it?
I was gonna say I think it's been a continuous thing on Twitch at the very least.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess unless it was muted there, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna find out if we got that recorded because our talks about anime and manga was actually
pretty
cool. And I'd like to put that out there as an extra if we have it.
I'll throw the Easter egg to throw in case that does make it in. I won't even say what it was about, but Full Metal Alchemist also fits that bill of the last thing we were discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
There we go.
All right, Rick. As always, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the program, and I really enjoyed talking with you. We are going to see you again for sure.
Yeah, it's been great being here. Thank you so much.
I believe we are going to have a short entertainment discussion. So if you want to stick around for that, by all means, we would love to have your input and insights. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So that was Rick of the D-Pad, and you know where to find him, guys. Come on.
D-Pad.fm. Nice and easy.
That's right. Adam, do we have any entertainment news this week? I would imagine we do.
Well, not enough time to go through most of it, but the only thing I'll highlight here now is Warner Brothers is changing the name from Max back to HBO Max.
Yeah, I saw that.
Makes sense.
Well,
I mean, admittedly, I think HBO Max is a better name than just Max, which
infinitely better.
John Cena was being a little salty about that too. He's like, so I'm just everywhere it says Max, I'm just going to start saying HBO Max.
It's like I want to be paid as one of the people who made that call or suggestion in the first place, because that has to be the easiest job in the world.
It's honestly shocking. I work kind of adjacent to design people, and usually everybody I work with is extremely talented. They know their shit. But there's got to be some who just go, hey, you know what's cool? Helvetica and a single colored block. That's what we should change our logo to. And that's they get paid.
Comic Sans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're gonna change the name of the soda from Mountain Dew to MTN Dew, and then in a couple of years we're gonna change it back.
Like Reebok did the same thing. The exact RBK is what they technically are now, and it's like, guys, no.
Nobody.
KFC is the only one to pull that off and make it work, and that's because nobody called it Kentucky Fried Chicken before anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it was just making a formality official.
Yeah, probably made the signage a lot easier to do too.
Mm. But yeah, it's like no reason I think was given for the change back other than the obvious.
Zaslav doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Like no, Zaslav knows what he's doing.
I get that's fair. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. It's just very self-serving and damaging to the brand overall.
Well, it's more it's also who knows how far the rebrand went. Like that's but
it's like Uncle Leo's. Oh, go ahead.
No, people have the wrong read on David Zaslav. Like he's not incompetent. He's
just
very No. It's not even that. He's been tasked by the Warner Brothers Discovery Board of Directors to reduce the debt load. People forget about this. Like, people forget how much debt that Warner Brothers has because of AT&T's fuckery.
Yeah. It's an
like,
it's an unenviable position. It's like, as much as we talk about eating the rich and shitting on capitalism and all that stuff, I wouldn't want that job.
Right. I mean,
no matter how much money they paid me.
It doesn't help that Zaslav is quite artless, because like, what would you expect from the guy who gave the world the modern version of TLC and whose flagship network's flagship programming is 90 Day Finance? Like, you're seeing exactly what you get at a proper studio, quite frankly. Like, we can get that for a tax write-off? Sure.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head that like I think thinks of things in a purely, and to some extent it's what the CEO is there for, but like he thinks of things in a pretty purely like numeric business standpoint, and doesn't consider, one, I don't think he thinks very much about the people that are under him, like, at all, which is a real shame. And two, I think he doesn't value the art that is being made under his like tutelage, exactly, or just the umbrella of Warner Brothers Discovery, where like I think the biggest example, even more so than Coyote versus Acme or The Day the Earth Blew Up or any of that, is I think Batgirl was probably the point where, actually, no, you know what, I'd say Coyote versus Acme is also right there as kind of a 1-2 punch of like, these were functionally finished products. Like, the money had already been spent. There was very little to gain by just axing them completely, especially if it's like, okay, it does cost money to make the licensing agreements with the theaters and have it, ship out all the physical prints, or if nowadays a lot of it's done digitally.
Yeah, but that was going to be a streaming only thing.
That's the thing.
That was one of the reasons he shit canned it, was because they didn't have any contracts with the theaters.
Right, which like, it's kind of baffling in some ways, where it's like, you have the streaming platform and like, sure, you have to pay for the storage of that too, but
Batgirl is unfortunately the story of a larger tale that it's kind of been going on in the background. And like, the expenses of the streaming era, because apparently that thing cost $75 million. And the scuttlebutt is to turn it into a theatrical quality release would have ballooned it to $200 million.
Yeah,
and
like
apparently
marketing.
it just wasn't a strong enough film to make it into a tentpole.
Not to
Well,
mention, at the time, the DCEU was kind of like collapsing under its own weight, which, in fairness, this one was setting itself up to be a little distant from that. And I think they were planning. There was the kind of flip flop between whether they were going to use.
I think this was actually going to connect to the new DCU.
Yeah, well,
Like,
it was almost more connected to the Flash, if anything, because there was the flip flop of whether they were going to use Ben Affleck as Batman or if they were going to use. Oh my God, I almost said Val Kilmer. Holy shit.
Keaton.
Yes, Michael Keaton as Batman for that. I think the intent ultimately was Michael Keaton, but they were kind of bouncing back and forth with it for a little while as all the shakeups were happening. Folks were getting fired and rehired and all of that stuff. And like, I think it got caught in like 3 different sets of crossfire at the same time, and it just wound up getting shit canned. Unfortunately, very late in the process. Like, they could have gotten, at the very least, there's the argument that they could have finished it, put it on Max, HBO Max, whatever, and at least it could have maybe drawn in some more subscribers and not made $0. Coyote v Acme, even more so. The thing was completely done, and they just went, nah. And it's like, you were going to put it on streaming anyway. Like, just do it. Like, what's the holdup here? But Ketchup Entertainment bought it, so should be seeing that at some point.
Maybe we get lucky and somebody does found footage and releases it online the way they did with Roger Corman's 1994 Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of a. Have you actually watched the movie?
I have.
I've seen chunks. I haven't seen the whole thing.
When I speak with authority when I say that of all the Fantastic Four movies made in the last 40 years, that this was probably the most entertaining.
It's very charming. You can tell that the actors were all legitimately trying, which is kind of it makes it work. Like, it's surprising how well it actually works, despite all the chintziness of it.
Yeah, the extreme camera angles on Reed Richards stretching his arms, though, took me right out of it for a minute there.
Got to get creative. It's 1990.
I mean, this is by the same director. This is by the same director who glued Big Mac boxes to the wall to make the corridors of a spaceship.
Yeah,
you know?
Always a very practical sort of dude with that.
We should probably wrap up.
Indeed. All right. Well, again, thanks, Rick, for being on the show.
Of course, thank you.
We really enjoyed having you. I'm opening up a few other windows here real quick so that way I can do the wrap up here. Bear with me for a second. I had it open, but then I moved to something else so I could watch the chat. Scrolling down. Right. I want to get this promo out there because I want to have a lead in for next season. All right, so that's it for this season of Moonhawk Studios Presents Season 19. It's been a long road getting from there to here, as they say in Star Trek Enterprise. But next season starts July 2nd, and our first episode will have Joey Galvez of the Geek Collective on the program, barring any unforeseen circumstances cropping up. From my lips to God's ear. That's me knocking on my dashboard. And then our second episode is going to be a very special guest. It's going to be Al Lowe, legendary game designer who created the Leisure Suit Larry games. Will be joining us on the podcast, and that'll be our second bigwig from the old days of Sierra to actually be on this particular show. We've had Rebecca Berger Becky Heineman on the program, both here and on Fragments of Silicon many times. And
my show had Lori and Corey Cole, creators of the Quest for Glory series.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Back when
so I'm
Hero U was coming to the Switch.
Oh, nice. So I'm definitely looking forward to season 20 of our podcast. And I got to say, it's been somewhat invigorating being able to come back here and do this We had a few stumbles between hiatuses over the years, and I just wanted to say that I'm kind of feeling it again. We will have a slight format change next season in that we will actually be starting the podcast at 8 o'clock Pacific instead of the half-hour wind down / wind up between shows. So that way we can fit in our very popular inside the studio reaction video segments as a regular feature on the show. So we will be having hilarious commentary on everything from the Children's Television Workshop to Square One TV to informational videos of the 80s and 90s.
To the Computer Chronicles, which is
That's
always
right.
popular.
That's right. So hopefully we'll have a lot of fun doing that. All episodes of Moonhawk Studios Presents and any extras that we put together for subscribers will now be available at my YouTube page. My username on YouTube is Mr. Palladino, Mr. Palladino, but you can search us on the Moonhawk Network on youtube.com. So be sure to check us out there, and if you want to catch up on the lore of the show such as it still exists, feel free to check us out there. And we do still have our a sort of odd artifact with I literally had the word on the tip of my tongue, but now I'm 48, so things tend to slip past me. TV tropes. We still have our TV tropes page, which I think we probably need to update at this point to give it a little extra lore.
I think it still lists Naka and Ogre as being active on the program.
Yeah, that's Ogre left us in 2018, I think it was.
Part of the program in a decade.
Yeah. Oh God. I think he left us during season like 13 or 14 or something like that. Anyway. So yeah. So like I said, it's been quite a journey getting to here, and I look forward to continuing into Act 2 or 3 or however everybody's keeping score on that kind of thing. But for now, I'm Mac Paladin on behalf of Moonhawk Studios Presents. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids. And if somebody could kick Petty Fan's chair and wake him up.
I'm not sure how to do that. I mean, somebody could yell real loud, maybe?
If I could only scream at 1,000 decibels, I'd collapse the universe.
I assume he's having. He's been having stressful days, so.
Oh, gotcha.
True, but I don't think that's related to him going silent right now.
Well, if he fell asleep, it might just be because he was finally able to relax a little.
Yeah, well, we were having a lot of fun here, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just terminate the call, and that'll do that. And then, like I said, I'll talk to him later about seeing if we can edit in some of that optional extras, so you have some extra content to refer people to, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a hell of a chat leading into it. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Good night.
All right.
All right.